Today we're back here at the Forest Lawn Cemetery here in Buffalo, New York. We've already made a video here of resident Rick James, and we're here to find the grave of Kristen Pfaff, who's probably best known as the bassist for the alternative rock band Hole from 1993 to 1994. Let's go see if we can find her. We made it here to section 6 of the Forest Lawn Cemetery to find Kristen Pfaff, who was born on May 26, 1967 in Amherst, New York, which is a suburb of Buffalo, New York. She was the only child of her mother's first marriage, which ended in divorce. Her mother, Janet, remarried Norman Pfaff, who adopted Kristen as his own. She even took his last name. Growing up, Kristen was a classically trained musician on piano and cello. And after graduating high school, she spent her college years overseas in Europe before returning back to the U.S. to study at the University of Minnesota. And it was here where Kristen learned how to play the bass guitar and formed her first band, Janitor Joe, back in 1992. During a Janitor Joe performance in California, Courtney and Eric of the band Hole were in the audience and approached Kristen about joining their band as the new bassist. At first, Kristen refused and returned back to Minnesota. But Courtney and Eric were persistent, and eventually Pfaff agreed and moved to Seattle, Washington. In early 1993, Pfaff began rehearsing with Hole in preparation of their second studio album, Live Through This. And the rest, is what they say, is history. And here's her grave, right here. Kristen Marie Pfaff, born May 26, 1967, right here in a suburb of Buffalo, New York, and died June 16, 1994, in Seattle, Washington, of a drug overdose. She was only 27 years old. Unfortunately, she joined the club that nobody wants to join, the 27 Club. Now, the tragedy of all this is that Kristen was in Seattle that fatal night with a moving van all packed up and ready to go to leave the Seattle drug scene once and for all. But unfortunately, she would never wake up to drive it out of town.
The real kind of kicker was that she was so close. She was packed and ready to, get out of Seattle, and, she didn't make it.
Now, Kristen is probably most notably known for this album right here, Live Through This, which is one of the biggest alternative albums still to this day. This is the only album that Kristen Pfaff played on. You can see her in the video Miss World, which definitely has vibes from the movie Carrie. And this album was released 2 weeks after Kurt Cobain's suicide, and just 2 months later, Kristen would pass away. What a crazy time in music. Of course, one of the most controversial female figures in the history of rock music, Courtney Love, along with being the wife of Nirvana leader Kurt Cobain and the mother of Frances Bean Cobain. There's drummer Patty Schemel and guitarist Eric Erlandson, and then there's bass player Kristen Pfaff right there. I was always a big fan of Kristen's harmonies too. They were very melancholy and they were almost haunting sounding. And there's that iconic album cover. I figured as a tribute to Kristen Pfaff here, we would play some iconic Hole guitar riffs. So here we go. Probably one of their biggest hits is Miss World. I'll play a few riffs from that too. Now, like I do with all the famous graves that I go to, I want to leave a few mementos here for Kristen Pfaff. I figured for her flat stone, I would leave this, live through this button that I got. And we'll put that right in the corner. Now, as far as this incredible tombstone goes, I think that's where we're gonna leave the live through this CD, and we'll put that right here on the corner, right there. Perfect. Check out this shirt I got. It's Courtney Love and Kurt Cobain. It's kind of a play on the American Gothic painting hanging up in Chicago. I thought it'd be perfect for today's vlog. Perfect timing. But I also want to leave my YouTube magnet here. If you come to the Forest Lawn Cemetery here in Buffalo, New York, and visit Kristen Pfaff and find my magnet inside this CD, feel free to take it. But leave the live through this CD here for Kristen Pfaff. Rest in peace, Kristen Pfaff. All right, well, that's going to do it from the Forest Lawn Cemetery here in Buffalo, New York. I just want to say, until we meet again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Before we leave Buffalo, I have to show you one of my favorite pieces of folk art by artist Casey Rudin Millard, who, like me, is also an Ohio native. I'll post her Instagram below. And here she is, Shark Girl by artist Casey Rudin Millard. One of my favorite pieces of art. She's right here in downtown Buffalo, New York. Now, this fiberglass half girl and half shark creation perfectly sums up the absurd and bittersweet fish out of water desire for normalcy. She sits patiently waiting on a friend who won't judge or question her. So we're gonna do that right now. Hey Shark Girl, do you like the 90s alternative band Hole? I got Courtney Love right there on my shirt. Well, this song is dedicated just for you. Here we go. I am shark parts, shark head, shark heart. I have shark eyes, like a doll's shark eyes. All right.